Hello, welcome everyone again to this mathematics session. Here we'll be dealing with this WAEC past question. And it says evaluate 64 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 125 raised to power 1 over 3 all squared. All into bracket square, like you can see it. Evaluate this. And when looking at it, is first, you first identify what part of mathematics is talking about, and that is simply indices. That's simply indices, dealing with indices. That's how you can evaluate that. Evaluate 64 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 125 raised to power 1 over 3, all bracket, all of it, all the 2 times bracket, all squared. That's indices. So if you look at it and what part of indices we're talking about here, this deals with the first to the at least the fourth law. Like you can see in our videos, laws of indices part 1, laws of indices made easy part 1, laws of indices made easy part 2. You see all the laws there that treated this, that dealt with this. If you know those laws, this will be a very simple task, to deal with. So let's go into it. It is indices, so we employ the laws and then we'll get it done. So we'll go into it. What we're evaluating again is 64 raised to power 1 over 2 plus 125 raised to power 1 over 3, all of it squared. That's what we're dealing with. And so we can deal with that. So first, let's deal with the first term now. So we'll deal with them term by term. The first term, yes, 64 raised to power 1 over 2. And then the second term, 125 raised to power 1 over 3. We'll deal with that first. Get the answer, sum them together, and then we'll square them. That will give us the answer. So we'll deal with them one after the other. So let's begin with the 64. Now, this 64 raised to power 1 over 2, this tells us something of which of the laws, and I think that's the fourth law, the laws of roots and powers. 64, the numerator here is 1, and then denominator here is 2. So what do? 64 raised to power the square root. The denominator is the square root. 64, the square root of 64 first, and then all raised to power the numerator, that's 1. So that is just it. So the denominator is the root and the numerator is the power. So if we are taking that, how do we go about it? 64, it will be 64, the square root of 64 first, the square root of 64, all raised to power 1, all raised to power 1. But in mathematics, like we did in our first two laws, we don't always put 1, all raised to power 1. There would have been 1 here, but we're looking at this raised to power 1 already, so there's no need putting it. So it's the square root of 64. That is just it. That's the first one, plus 125. So write 125 first, and then the law comes in again. It will be the third root of 125. That one will write it, a third root of 125. Square root we don't write because the sign is already a square root. So but from third up, we'll write the third root of 125, all raised to power 1. Let me put the 1 there just for the purpose of explanation, but normally there's no need to do that. All raised to power 1. And then we say that all this raised to power 2, whatever we get there, is all raised to power 2. So having done that now, we continue by dealing with them one after the other again. So the square root of 64, and you know that one, 8. 8 is the square root of 64 because 8 times 8 will give you 64. So the square root of 64 is 8 plus, now here is the third root of 125. And I can do a little explanation here. Square root means what can multiply itself twice to give you that. Here, the number that can multiply itself twice to give you 64 is 8, because 8 times 8 is 64. Now we'll come to third root now. Third root means what number can multiply itself 3 times to give you 125. That's the meaning of third root of 125. You look for the number that can multiply itself 3 times to give you 125. And without even blinking an eye, you know that's 5. Because 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So 5 multiplying itself 3 times will give you 125. That's why 5 is the third root of 125. I come again. 5 multiplying itself 3 times to give you 125. That's the meaning of what the third root of 125 is. Here the square root means a number that can multiply itself twice to give you 64. That's 8. 8 because 8 times 8. 8 multiplying itself 2 times will give you 64. 8 times 8. Here the third root means a number that can multiply itself 3 times to give you 125. So that will be 5 because 5 times 5 times 5 will give you 125. 5 times 5, 25. Okay, 5 times 5 is 125. So the answer there is 5. Don't forget, we are still all this one squared. All of it squared. That is just it. All of it squared. So having done that, we'll just do the simple arithmetic there, and that will give us the answer. Don't forget, this is one of those ones you have to solve in a sprint, and you get your answer. So you just do the simple arithmetic there. 8 plus 5 will give you 13. So it's 13 squared. That's what it means, 13 squared. 8 plus 5 will give you 13, and that will mean 13 squared. So 13 square now, 13 square, 13 times 13. You can do that evaluation yourself, but it's 169. That's the final answer, 169. So evaluating that, following the laws of indices as we have done, I can see the first law here and also the fourth law of indices all apply. The first to the fourth law, first, second, third, fourth laws of indices, okay, maybe minus the third law that talks about the negative index. If not, first, second, and fourth all at play here. So with that, you can do this, by evaluating that using that fourth law, evaluating 64 by making it the square root because the denominator of the fractional powers is 2. That's 64. The square root of 64 plus the third root of 125. That's just it. And to give you 8 and 5, you join them together by summing them. That will give you 13. 13 all squared will give you 169. So that's it for today in this past question session. This for WAEC, so you can use this for dealing with WAEC. But it covers several other examinations also could give something like this. So that's it for today. Watch their videos and the law of indices made easy. Watch those videos and you understand the law of indices very clearly. Laws of indices made easy part 1, laws of indices made easy part 2. You will see all the ways we have done those laws, and then you use them to solve questions on indices. That's just it. Before I leave you here, I leave you with John chapter 8 verse 12. Jesus saying there, I am the light of the world. John chapter 8 verse 12. Jesus saying there, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Come to Jesus. That's the only place you find light and defeat darkness forever in your life. And I pray as you do, you will be blessed in Jesus' name. That's the session for today. Please, to keep us going, do well to click the like and the subscribe button, and also comment on the comment section, or you ask your questions also in the comment section, and the Lord bless you. Have a nice day, and ensure that you keep going through all our previous videos, all of them, especially on indices, so that you can get this clearer. More are coming, more will be coming your way. Check for the next ones that are coming, and as you do, I know that you'll be well enlightened. God bless you. Bye-bye.